Welcome back to the Hoodie and the Headband. It's your boy Bryce. I'm back with my boy.
Tariq.
We got another preview for you guys, man. Another big time matchup. This time it's in the ACC. Got North Carolina State up against Virginia Tech. We got a rematch, everybody. Big time rematch, man. Last time these two matched up against each other went down to the wire, thanks to a last second shot from Elizabeth Kitley at the end of the game. It was what 63-62, I believe the score was. But yeah, that was a great game, top to bottom. I mean, we saw good performance from Liz Kitley, Georgia Amore. Shania Rivers had a great game that game too. So I mean, I know North Carolina State want to get that get back. If I'm not mistaken, Virginia Tech is currently top of the ACC standings as far as conference play goes. And whatchamacallit, and North Carolina State is right under them. Let's see.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, we got a good matchup, man. Two great teams, two great programs. Thursday night, ACC Network, I believe it's on. Yeah, 8 o'clock tonight, Thursday night, ACC Network. Tariq, what are your initial thoughts on this game?
Um, both teams have been playing well going into this game. They're both on 5-game winning streaks, so I expect both teams to come out and play well. Virginia Tech didn't shoot well in their last game against North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
and the opposite of that for NC State happened against Louisville. They came out, shot the ball really well, shot the ball well for the uh, rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, River Baldwin is back for this game. She didn't play in the original game, and that was key because Mimi Collins was in foul trouble, um, and they were able to get different lineups and players that weren't necessarily prepared to play big or important minutes into the game. Both teams had to do that though. Karis Baker had to play some minutes. Strack had to play some minutes as well. So, um, and even Carly Wenzel. So there were players on both sides that had to play more minutes than they had expected to. And I think, both coaches had put players in the game so that they would be ready for games like this. And then, the games down the stretch that matter the most. So that's something I'm looking forward to seeing what role players step up in this game. Because Karis Baker hit two big threes that really helped Virginia Tech late in the second half. I just saw the Kyrie alley. He kind of thing all the way back. So yeah, want to see how that goes, and then for NC State, a lot of their players didn't shoot the ball well, and Isaiah James only played 19 minutes. She was in foul trouble as well, so and she's been playing well the last couple of games, well all season, but she's been on a hot stretch the last couple of games. So I'm curious to see how she plays this time around.
Right, right. For me, man, I'm just looking to see how things are in North Carolina State. They're playing in North Carolina State this time around. Got a feeling it'll be a packed house, and based on how last game went, I know we're in for a good game this game. Um, and just seeing the energy that North Carolina State comes out with, seeing if they want to come out and control the game off rip, or see if Virginia Tech matches their energy and it's like close battle through and through. It'll definitely be something to watch. But what should be the game plan for both teams?
Um, NC State, I think they had stretches where they played well on Georgia Amore and forced her into tough shots.
Mhm.
Um, Liz Kitley and Georgia Amore combined for 48 of the 63 points. So I you gotta be physical with Elizabeth Kitley, and then just don't give Georgia Amore space to shoot quality shots. And make other players beat you. You got to make Kayla King make shots, Matilda Eck, Olivia Sumil, Carly Winslow, if she's playing. You got to make those players make shots and live with the results, because you can't allow Kitley and Amor to just have their way, and then also other players just have to make 3 or 4 shots, because that's literally what it was. Kayla King made 1 3. I think Matilda Eck had a couple of shots that she made, and then Karis Baker had the 6 points. You literally only had to get 1 or 2 shots from 3 other players, and you were able to win the game. Now, being that it's on the road, it might be a little bit more difficult for those players to, step into those shots with full confidence. But I wouldn't be surprised if, a couple of those players have better games. Kayla King has shot the ball not up to par for her standards this season. We know that she can shoot with the best of them in the country, and she had some really good looks the other night against North Carolina that she wasn't hitting. And it was like after she had hit one, she got a wide open 3 on the transition and missed it, and I was really surprised by that one. So, but really, it only takes like 1 or 2 games, if not just a couple of shots in one game, to really get your confidence and get your rhythm back. So, if there's any game, this would be the game that they would need her to do that. And then for Virginia Tech, you gotta lock in on defense, because if your defense isn't locked in, then NC State will run you out the building, because they just have so many weapons that they can use on the offensive end. I mean, they're a tough team to stop. I mean, Sanaya Rivers, when she's getting downhill, creating for others, she's one of the best players in the country. Isaiah James has been fantastic all season. And then, the post players with Mimi Collins and River Baldwin have brought, an experience that, they're used to having at NC State, given that they had Cunane a couple years ago and things like that. So, and obviously you got Zoe Brooks, Madison Hayes that can still come off and give you 15 to 20 any given night. So, it really it's going to come down to Virginia Tech's defense and what is NC State willing to give up on the offensive end. You can't give up both Kitley and Amor. So, but this will be a different matchup with River Baldwin playing, in my opinion, for Kitley at least.
Copy. I agree. I felt like you did a good job summarizing that. All right, question. Whatchamacallit? So what makes North Carolina State one of the best teams in the nation? Like they're ranked 3 in the nation, and they've been one of the better programs for the last couple of years. Like what is it in that program that makes them who they are?
I think one of it is coaching. Westmore is one of the best coaches in the country. I wouldn't say underrated, but he's one of the he's not as known as the other top coaches in the country, in my opinion. I think continuity. They don't have a ton of turnover from year to year. Confidence is a big thing. They're always really good defensively, and they just have players that they understand exactly what Westmore is asking them to do, and they have versatile players that can play different positions, play different roles. And I just think, they're a team that they're gonna play hard every game, whether or not their shots are falling. They're gonna give 100% effort, because that's what Westmore expects you to do. So you're gonna see games where NC State doesn't score a ton, but they also hold the other team to a rough game in terms of shooting, and they're able to win those games. They don't have necessarily like a go-to player like they did a couple years ago with Cunane, but they do have 4 or 5 players that can go get a shot at any given time, and they didn't have that a couple years ago. So they're probably more dangerous this year than they were in past years, even though they had one of the best players in the country at a given time. I think that is like the balance and the understanding of what exactly they need to do from night to night is what makes them so good.
Word, word. So, all right. If Virginia Tech gets the dub here, how big of a win is that for them?
I think it's huge. I think if they win this, they win the ACC. And we talked about earlier in the season after they lost to LSU, how many more chances will they have at big games like this? Obviously, they're going to play some really good teams in the ACC, but there are going to be games that feel bigger than others. And they mentioned Kidley mentioned after the game that they won at the buzzer against them in Virginia Tech that they knew they needed this game for their confidence and for them to feel like they could win these kinds of games, and they hadn't for a while. I wouldn't say for a while. Obviously, they got to Elite Eight, or they got to the Final Four, and we're a bad fourth quarter away, or a good fourth quarter away from a national championship berth. But after that, it was like, okay, can you beat the top teams? And obviously, that's how you win a national championship. You got to beat the LSU's, the South Carolinas, uh, the Iowas, the UConns, the top teams, the teams that have been in the national championship the last couple of years. So, um, this is a game that they need because NC State is a team that they could possibly see in an Elite Eight or a Sweet 16. Like, probably not a Sweet 16, but they could see them in an Elite Eight. Um, and you need these kinds of wins when it comes down to the big moments when you're down six in a March Madness game, um, with about 4 minutes left. Do you feel in your hearts that y'all have what it takes to come back and win this game? When you have moments like South Carolina's game against LSU, did they play their best game? No. Did they still go into LSU, a sold out arena, and win? Yes. They can look back at that if they have a game where they're struggling in the first half. They can be like, hey, y'all remember that game there? Virginia Tech doesn't always have that. When they started struggling in the fourth quarter last year against LSU, who was able to be like, hey, y'all remember when we did this? Not saying that they didn't win the big games that year, but they didn't have that experience of being like, hey, we've been through this before. We know exactly what we need to do. We know we need to go get somebody gets the free throw line or somebody get a layup or somebody, make sure we get a good look at the three. And not saying that they didn't get good shots, but when Georgia Amore was firing, she was firing. So she was letting them things go. Kitley, she has her moments where she gets a little bit tentative, starts to shoot more fadeaways, then get to the rim, things like that. And then once the momentum is gone and people's energy and their confidence starts to drain, that's when every shot just falls short or is too long. Um, so a game like this could be, I don't want to say make or break, but for their confidence, this is probably the most important game of the season to this point. Obviously, the game at Virginia Tech was important,
Mhm.
but I feel like you winning this and them being right under you in the standings, if you beat them, you have a really good chance of, winning the entire or winning the conference in terms of the regular season, and that's an important milestone for a team like them.
Yeah, because looking at their schedule after this, they're probably their toughest game after this will probably be Notre Dame, which is later on in the season.
Yeah,
Um, their next to last game, they got Boston College, Duke, which is another tough opponent, Louisville, which is 15th in the nation at the moment, and North Carolina, who's also been like an up and down kind of team, but you can't sleep on North Carolina and Notre Dame. So they got not the easiest schedule, but
right.
if they do take care of business in this game, then they can definitely, I can definitely see them being at the top of the ACC before the
I just
ACC tournament.
I just think them having two losses, if NC State gets three, then that gives them a little bit of breathing room because they still have one more win than them. So that would put them at 10-2. That would put them at 8-3. Obviously, Louisville and Syracuse are still right there,
Mhm.
but you winning this game, you control your destiny. All you have to
Yeah,
do is take care of business. And also, NC State still has to play these other teams.
they
Uh,
still got to play Notre
Louis,
Dame,
Syracuse still plays
Duke.
other. definition
in
of best place.
Syracuse.
Yeah, so they still have to play a ton of teams where they could take another loss, or the teams below them could take another loss. So at a certain point, you just got to take care of business and let everything else work itself out. If
Mhm.
you win the games that you need to win, then there's nothing like you can't. There's no way you lose.
Yeah.
If you take care of business, then you're gonna be ACC regular season champions.
Yep. All right. Prediction time. Who do you think wins this?
I'm gonna go NC State. I just think they'll be more prepared.
Yeah.
And they're a team that plays really well in big games, typically. Um, this season at least, I wouldn't say they haven't in past seasons, but this season they've definitely shown up um, when necessary, and they play really well against Virginia Tech and Virginia. So I think they'll get this one. I think um, if Virginia Tech does win it, it's going to come down to the other players because I don't think Westmore is going to allow Kitley and Amore to just go crazy. I'll be surprised if he doesn't send some things their way to just throw them off a little bit. And I think NC State will come out with a lot of energy, given that the way they lost the first time they played, and they know how important this game is. Um, I think it's a toss up. I think this is a very close game. I think 16-3 makes it look a little different, but I think Virginia Tech is much better than the 16 ranking that they have right now. So,
I think
uh,
so too.
so I would lean towards NC State, probably about 6 or 7, by 6 or 7 points. But I could also see Virginia Tech winning by like 7-8. So, if I have to pick somebody, I would pick NC State at home.
No, I think it's funny how we did all this talking about how important this game is for for
And,
Virginia Tech.
and then we went NC State.
I mean, I got NC State too at the crib, but they didn't get back. That's
I
just
thought
be
I thought you would go Virginia Tech, to be honest.
nah. I don't know, man. Just talking about NC State, man. That I gotta, I want to say like look into more, but they're an interesting team for sure. Like they're a team to watch heading into March. I mean, they've always have been. So, um, yeah, I just think they just take care of business on the home front. I feel like them losing in the way that they lost, especially after I forgot who hit the shot down the stretch.
Kitley.
No, not Kitley. The person that hit the shot before Kitley on SC State. I mean, not SC State. SC State. She drove and made the layup.
Let me check.
I remember she drove and made the
Oh,
layup.
it's not.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it's not. I
yeah,
was like, hold on, because it was like a tough one, right? She had to like.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay,
remember that.
but yeah, I mean, after coming so close and getting the road dub, getting the road win, and then we're like, I don't know, it's like what 1.3 seconds or something crazy. It was like not that much time left.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot of time.
Maybe like I think it might have been point 0.3.
And
Um,
I'm not sure that Virginia Tech has the defense. Obviously, like they did play good defense on them to hold them to 62 points, which is well under their average, about 14, 15 points under their season average. But um and Virginia, like NC State had this game. Virginia Tech was down like 11-13 going into the fourth quarter. So
yeah,
they had to make up some ground. But I think players like Sinai Rivers, Isaiah James, Zoe Brooks, Madison Hayes, I think they they come to play in this game, and I think they end up taking it. I just don't know if Virginia Tech's defense and if their um, role players will make enough shots. And I feel like sometimes I make too much of the role players in college, but when you watch a game, the role players end up playing such a huge part of big games that people don't realize. Like that LSU game with South Carolina, they may not win that game if Malaysia Fort Wiley doesn't come in and do what she does in that first quarter.
right.
If Chloe Kitts doesn't have 10, 12 points in the first half, they may not win that game. They
Yeah,
may be down 20 instead of being down, 5 or 6 going into halftime.
yeah, it was a 5 point game and a half. Yep.
So it could be a lot worse. So just moments like that. It doesn't have to be, oh, this person scored 15, 16 points. It could literally be 5 and just be a huge 5. Like the Karis Baker 6 was maybe the biggest six besides Kitley's jump shot at the end, but it might have been the biggest six in the game because of when it happened and what was going on during the game.
Oh yeah, I know we talked plenty of times about how important scoring is in at the college level. Like certain shots down the stretch hold so much weight. Like a
Mhm.
player got 2 points in the game, but those 2 points could start a run, and those be the most important 2 points out the whole game.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I got North Carolina State getting a dub, getting there, and then get back. Um, that's what kids like to say. But should make for an exciting game Thursday night, 8 o'clock. We'll be locked in. We'll be tuned in. So be sure
Facts.
to pop into our social media, our Twitter X accounts, as well as on our show page as well at the H&H Show for live updates and just what we gotta say, talk about the game as the game goes on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in to another preview that we've had. These previews are doing their thing, man.
Facts.
Love doing these previews.
Appreciate y'all.